I'm Andy.
And I'm Rich.
And welcome back to Get Gaming, the channel by two gamers with a Y for...
Gamers with or without a Y.
That's exactly right. And today we have a special retrospective vlog for you all. It is currently the day before when we're filming this. And we're going to be talking about June 30th to July 2nd, which was Ragecon 2023. Because we were hyping it up quite a bit before we went. Then we took a hiatus right after that for reasons we've discussed before. And then the Stonewall Uprising video came out. And then we did our Summer of Games vlog.
Yes.
But we didn't talk about our Ragecon experience there because there's a lot to unpack. Not literally, because we didn't buy any games while we were at the convention. But it was our first board gaming convention, and it was a more smaller local one, and we just wanted to share our experience with you guys in case you are in the Northern California or Nevada area and are considering going to Ragecon. We give our kind of perspective on things, and the games we played there, and the people we played with, such as John, who we love.
John was there.
Oh, John was there. Oh, we got a John in. So, obviously, it's several months in the past, but as you all know, this channel is about sharing our experiences, our board gaming journey with you.
On a journey.
And so we wanted to make sure that we're not leaving anything out.
We wouldn't want to do that.
We wouldn't want to do that, for sure. So, picture it.
Picture it. Sicily, 1922.
So, Ragecon started on a Friday. It's a 3-day convention. We left here at...
Pretty early. It was before 10.
Yeah.
It was like 9, I think.
Yeah, I think the first events were starting at noon, and we got into Reno about noon, and we literally, the second we landed, we went into the first table. But it's actually a really nice drive. If you've never done the drive between Sacramento and Reno, you go straight through...
It's very pretty.
Yeah, you go straight through the El Dorado Forest and the Sierra Nevada. The Sierra Nevadas.
The Sierra Nevades.
It's quite scenic.
If you're local, you can call them that.
Very nice drive. It didn't take us that long. I was surprised. You know, it's really, like, it feels like Reno is, like, really a whole nother world away. But it's really only 2.5 hours. So it's not that bad of a drive.
I mean, it changes a lot geographically, especially when you're coming down after you leaving the Sierra Nevadas.
You go straight down into the Dust Bowl.
Exactly.
Dusty in Reno.
It's high desert, though.
Okay.
Not that it's like... I don't know what that means. It just means it's higher.
It's sort of like when people say, oh, it's a dry heat.
I know. I was thinking that same thing.
It's only humid in the summer. It only snows for like 9 months out of the year. You have 3 whole months to go outside.
Sure, Jan.
Yeah, it was very hot when we got there. We were leaving a big heat wave in Sacramento, and it was like 2 degrees cooler in Reno, and we almost got heat stroke.
Heat stroke.
You almost got a heat stroke. We were just
we
walked 1 block trying to find a Mexican restaurant on the first day, and then we're like, nope. Luckily, the casino where this convention is at, I think it's like at the Nugget, and they have a lot of actually pretty nice restaurants in there.
They did.
Yeah, we had brunch at this place called, what was that place called? It's like, not Rosie's, but it's something like that. Very good brunch. And where else? We ate at a barbecue place with John.
That was my favorite.
Must try. They had this really great, it was like white person's answer to carne asada fries. So I think it was like...
What was that?
It was brisket on a pile of fries with a ton of sauce. It was really good. So thank you, John.
I don't know if that's what I had or not, but whatever I had,
I'll have to put in the logo of the place that we're talking about.
Because if we go back, well, we will go back. But when we go back to see John, I want to go back there for sure. It was so good.
Good. So if you're in Reno, I don't know, just ask somebody. Just say barbecue place, and they'll probably know what you're talking about.
It's only like a block away from the Nugget.
It's more than a block, but it's like a 5-minute drive.
2 blocks.
Yeah, it's right off the highway.
Get your kicks on Route 66.
You know, we got some good food in. We did the whole 3 days. We stayed in the hotel in the casino, which was, you know, pretty nice.
Good, because it was
big
so
casino.
hot. You didn't want to go out anywhere.
Exactly. You know, one-stop shop. And so the first day... we played this game called, it's either Flight of Dragons or Here There Be Dragons, I think is what it was called.
I think it was Flight of Dragons.
The list. Well, final title to be announced.
Yes.
It's very much, we did a lot of play testing. Like, I think we spent the majority of the convention in they call it the proto spiel part of the convention, where, you know, a bunch of designers just have their games set up and they're just doing play testing throughout the day, all 3 days, pretty much. It's organized by the lovely Johnny Pack. You may recognize Johnny Pack from titles such as Merchant's Cove and Unconscious Mind. He also works with
Fantasia Games,
who obviously does Unconscious Mind and also Endless Winter. He's a developer for them. The first game we did was a big play test of a game about you're basically herding dragons. So it's kind of like area control with dice battling, but also a lot of engine building and kind of deck building, kind of. Or you
I barely remember it, but I just remember the dragon theme.
And those little bits, he has daughter, I guess, is a professional woodworker and had, what is that, fire or laser carved, all these pieces, all the different monster pieces.
They were really nice.
Yeah, so it's not just dragons. There's also, you can herd monsters like chimeras and medusas and all kinds of stuff. It was very fun. We only got through half a game because Mr. Patrick, the designer, who's friends with us on Blue Sky, hi Patrick, he was running 3 different games during the same session, which I think was maybe a little bit of a mistake. So we were playing with a guy who had play tested it before, but I think with a different rule book. And it was a fairly good rule book for something that he just printed out and stapled. But we were just struggling for about an hour just figuring out how to set up the game because there's a little bit of setup involved. It's like a bigger medium weight game. It was not crazy heavy once we got into it, but there are a lot of steps to the round. One of the nice things about doing playtesting at a convention like that is that you can give immediate feedback and such. So he had like questionnaires that you could fill out and stuff, or like he also had a link to a Google form, which I thought was very smart. It was fun. I wish we'd been able to finish the game.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I liked the game. So.
Yeah, once we were getting into it, it was pretty fun because, again, there's a lot of dice chucking.
Well, I love dice chucking.
I love dice chucking. And you're kind of doing area control, like moving your dragon meeples around the map. Yeah, I'd like to play it again. Maybe next year if he's playtesting it again, because he's been developing it for a while. I think it's like his first game, and it's like a pet project kind of thing.
Right.
He's just focused just on that. So I hope we get a chance to play it again. And
yeah, I would play it again for sure.
And we also play tested a game called With Great Haste, which is a D&D kind of themed race game. So you're like racing up a tower to rescue some royals and run back down the tower with them while a fire-breathing dragon chases after you. Very fun.
That was the best thing, the mechanic of the tower. I love that.
And the designer of the game is a lovely lady named
Michelle.
Who's also a graphic designer who did all her own art for the game. Who we should hit her up for some graphic design work. And she's actually going to have a game published by the same publisher as John's next game. So stay tuned for that. I think she has a game about Dachshunds. A lot of people her table was busy the whole time because it plays a lot. It plays up to 6, I think.
Yeah.
It's a quite brisk, kind of hour-long game. And if you like race games, you know, it was really fun.
I always do. I like race games.
Yeah, and there's a lot of interesting kind of deck building happening in the game, but not quite deck building. You can only hold like a couple cards at a time. The second round, or the second sort of part of your turn, had a lot of different action elements. So there was a lot of action selection going on in the second part of the turn. So in addition, a race game makes it sound like it would be super light, but it had some nice crunch in the different sorts of actions and cards you can play.
Did we finish that game?
Yeah.
Who won? Did I?
I don't remember who won.
Well, that would be evidence that I don't always win at a game that we play the first time.
That would be evidence, except I can't remember. And I don't always track such things. Sometimes I will if I think it was a really epic score, or it's like something where I'm like, oh, is this a good score? I want to kind of compare them for next time to see, especially when we're learning a game for the first time.
Sure, Jan.
But
I think that one stands a really good chance of of being published, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, the art was really good. I think it could have used a little bit of streamlining. Like, the first part of the game, getting up to the tower, was taking a little longer than I would have liked.
Right.
And then the second half of the game, when
It's
you're
going
getting
really
chased.
fast.
Yeah, when you're being chased down the tower by the dragon was really interesting. And she said that's something that she had tweaked from previous feedback. But again, she's not a professional designer. Like, it's not like her full-time job. Her full-time job is graphic designing. So, you know, it's again one of those cases where you're just like, hey, I like play testing the game and working on the game, but I'm not like in a huge rush on it, you know, because I don't think she even has a publisher for it yet. But there were a lot of people playing that game at the convention.
I think so,
I think that was the
too.
most popular table at the Proto Spiel for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, because it's just fun. You see a bunch of people just having fun, and race games are just pure fun. I think there's even asymmetric player powers, kind of. Like, you can play as, like, mages or orcs or this or that, you know. So it's got this really sort of tongue-in-cheek D&D theme. It seems a very loving kind of send-up, which I thought was really fun. And then we also, on the first day... I mean, I think everything we played on the first day, we were playtesting. Because we were just hanging out in that corner with John, trying to get our quality time in with him, too. You know, because we hadn't seen him in a couple of months. Yeah, at that point. We played a game called Druids, or I think he's calling it The Power of the Druids. This is a game that has been picked up to be published by Eagle Griffin Games is publishing this game. So this is a compatriot of John's, Mr. Jake Vandersloot, I think is his last name.
I know, I've got his card in my wallet.
Oh, you should pull it out. Here, flash the card.
When in doubt, pull it out.
So we did bring our stickers and cards to the convention. We were trying to pimp the channel a little bit.
Van Sluten.
Van Sluten. So Jake Van Sluten is his name. And I think that was our favorite game of the convention that we played together.
I would say.
That we play tested at least. Very fun little... So you're on this board, you're druids, right? You know, you're trying to gather crystals, cast spells to tame these magical creatures, sort of moving around this little hex board thing. But the really fun thing about that game is the engine building, because you have like this market of cards that you each have access to that have these really souped up powers to help you do things more efficiently in the game. And it's one of those resource management style kind of games where it's not a tight resource management puzzle. It's really about how quickly you can race up the score track. Because I think the first person to 20 triggers the end of the game.
I don't remember that part, but...
I think there's some elements of the action selection that he was still trying to work out because he was sort of running the game for us.
There were different elements, like fire and water. Wasn't that part of it too? Like
yeah, so the different elementals have different effects, and based on certain cards will trigger certain elementals, and as I recall. But I know he's still working out some of the action selection stuff. I like the way he kind of had it work. You had like 7 tokens, and you could use those to spend for actions. And I think there was some like negative thing that could happen to you. Like if somebody landed on the same space as you had to lose. So there was like -1 action token or whatever. And I thought that worked quite well. The aspect that wasn't working for me as well is he was sort of having to run the game because each round you have to kind of reseed the board with these crystals.
I do remember that.
And he had sort of this deck that tells you which things to reseed and how many. And it was just, if he hadn't been doing it for us, it would have added, I think, like an hour to the game.
Probably.
Which is really like, I think it would be a really good head-to-head, like, hour, 45-ish minute game if, you know, he could sort of streamline the whole reseeding the crystals on the board kind of process. But otherwise, I really loved, you especially loved the souped up towers.
I did. It was fun.
Yeah. It's like, not like, oh, I can get a card that will give me like +1. It's like, no, every time you do this or I do that, I'm going to get a ton of extra stuff.
Like residual powers.
There's a lot of passive benefits happening in that game because there is kind of an area control element to it as well, with waking up the different elementals who have even more souped up powers. So it was super fun. I can't wait to play it again. And actually, Jake is local to Sacramento, so we need to like hit him up for a game night.
I agree.
And tell him to bring Druids over. And then we had a little kiki with John on Saturday night. You know, we were getting crunk. We had a little trip to the 7-Eleven for some 40s or what have
I don't
you.
even remember what
I think
we
I got a
did.
huge sandwich because I was still hungry.
That was not the night we went to the barbecue place, by the way.
That
'Cause
was
that
Saturday
left
night.
no room for additional food.
It's true. But so we got some good gaming in on Friday. Then on Saturday we got up at 10 a.m.
You did. I didn't
no.
sleep that well.
for Fliptown, the new game by Steve Armini. It's a flip and write, which I think is fulfilling on Kickstarter. Like right now, everyone's just now getting their
I
copies of
cannot
this.
wait for this to come out.
I know. I'm sad I missed the Kickstarter because now I'm not sure exactly when the retail release for this game is, but there's a lot of buzz about it right now, and we got to play it with the designer, and we have footage right here of the designer showing Rich how to play this game. So we're like super cool, just in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
We're like no people. Because Steve is one of John's mentors, you know, a family friend. So 1 degree separation from the dadini.
He is the designer of one of my absolute favorite games.
Oh yeah, we got Animal
Kingdom
Kingdom signed, so we should show you.
You got it signed?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Because I didn't want him to sign the button shy ones because I was worried it would just rub off of the wallets.
Yeah.
So I had him sign our copy of Animal Kingdoms, which is one of our gateway games and still one of our favorite area control games. Very good to introduce to new people. So
Excellent.
there we go. That was our fangirl moment with Steve Armini.
For sure.
Super nice guy. And you really liked that game. A surprise. A little more crunchy.
It was really crunchy, but it was clear cut. I like games. If you're gonna go there, designers, and make like a bunch of stuff,
you're in the Wild West, and this game has a very interesting mechanic with poker hands. Mm-hmm. So the way that you're doing the action selection is you're revealing, I believe it's 3 cards from the deck.
It's like Texas Hold'em.
And you can mark off things. So you can choose one card to mark on this one mini game, because by the end of the game, if you've managed to make like a poker hand, like a full house or something like that, you'll get extra points. Then the other card you're choosing for either its color or its value, and that will correspond to different areas on the board that you can fill out.
This board is, oh my god, it's just, it's
nice and
a
big.
work of art, but it's just like, it's so precise or something. Like there's no wasted space. There's nothing superfluous about it. It's just like
it's very streamlined. The iconography is very clear. It's not like when you open up, like, say, Hadrian's Wall and you're like, oh my god, what just assaulted my eyes. It actually is pretty clean looking board. It's nice and big. And I was talking to some people on the Discord about having to squint at things with some of these roll and writes, you know.
Yeah.
And this one I felt like it was pretty navigatable.
Yes. Yeah, if you're going to make stuff small, then you have to give it a little more room. You can't pack things in. So, and it was good. It was just really
excellent graphic design. And I really like this game. It's about the weight, I'd say, of Three Sisters, but the combos aren't as crazy.
Yeah.
I think there's like only 3 rounds in the game or something like that.
It was pretty quick.
Yeah,
I don't remember it taking forever.
No, it was like, I think this is meant to be like an hour game.
I think it was like an hour, but that included the teach.
That's true.
So, that took a little while. So it was under an hour.
It goes fast. And like I said, there is some combo-tastic-y stuff going on. Like, it has that thing with the different areas of the board similar to Hadrian's Wall, where you kind of need to understand a little bit how each works. But it's really just a lot of bumping tracks and getting points. And I felt it was nice, crunchy, medium weight, but not like overwhelming. And I think which is what you kind of want in a roll and write like that. You want to be able to throw more people at it without having a long teach bogging it down, so you can just get into it.
So far, I would say that's like my favorite of either the roll and write or flip and write that I've played so far. I thought there's a couple, at least it's not the only one, but I'm a little less fond of that. I think it was that, which one it was.
Three Sisters.
No, the other one with the ghouls. Party or something.
No, Castle Party. Is that the one you're
Party,
talking about?
yeah.
That everyone likes to pull out this time of year, which has a very unforgivable omission in its rules book about drafting the cards, which is very kind of game breaky and very annoying to me.
Yeah.
And that one, it's a very simple polynomial puzzle. Castle Party to me, and I have plenty of other games that scratch that itch. So
maybe that's it. Yeah, I mean, you're right.
It's okay.
It does come down to sort of theme intermixed with the mechanics, and if it's mechanisms that you tend to like or not, but so much is theme.
And you like the Wild Wild West thing, I think.
Love that.
Which the Fliptown has in spades, and you have the little, and the town is crawling with cops, so you better make sure you don't get too many wanted ads against you, or you start losing a lot of points. So it's one of those games where you can definitely get.
I've literally been asking him every month since then.
You can buy it as a print and play on PNP Arcade, but I tried printing it out, and
it probably muddies it up a lot, right?
Oh, you need to print it pretty big, because printing it on an 8x11 sheet makes it a little hard to read. So, and then you have to fab all the cards, because there's a custom deck of cards in it as well. And there's some asymmetric powers. There's a deck of different characters you can play as well. So I think we were just going to wait for the retail release.
Definitely.
Even though I did purchase the print and play files.
Oh, well, whatever.
That's just the extra for you to Steve. That's a little bonus. And then, so I played some games away from Rich at the convention, because going into it, I was pretty upfront with Rich. There's just some games that probably, you can go and take a nap while I go play this big, chonky Euro, which I did manage to play test the new expansion for Coloma, which is a game by Johnny Pack. Remember I was talking about Johnny Pack?
See that somewhere recently?
Yeah, we were there and back again. They have the older edition in their library. It's very out of print and very difficult to find.
Oh, okay.
So I was surprised that they had it. That's probably why they put it in the library. So I was playing with a group of 6, because I guess the expansion lets you play 6, or maybe the base game also lets you play 6. But any Euro game that lets you play up to 6... Well, anyway, let's just say that this session took 3+ hours, but everyone was
so
in it.
You better have a lot of table space. That's all I can say. That thing was
well, because there were just 6 people, and everyone has their individual player board and stuff.
It was pretty much big as Texas.
Yeah, so that's another Old West theme. Actually, it takes place in historic Coloma, which is 30 minutes from us.
That's true.
So Johnny Pack is actually semi-local. He grew up in Placerville. And when I met him and he told me that, I was like, I'm sorry. And he's like, oh, somebody gets it. Oh, it's a haul.
There must be more than this provincial love.
But, and I just like that there's other local towns there on the wagon trail board, like Folsom, which is the town right next to us. And, it's a very cute little Old West theme. And, oh my God, that is such a chunky Euro. I think it's the best Euro I played, other than A Feast for Odin.
Really?
I was literally at one point standing up at the table. I was getting really into it.
Oh, you were so into it. I came up to try to talk to you, and I couldn't get your attention.
I never said I was a role model.
What about...
Even though I was standing right next to him, but he was standing up, and he was leaning over, and he was just so
I lost by
it.
1 point. To a guy who this is one of his favorite games of all time, who's a heavy Euro gamer. So that's about the level.
I'm quick to check a bitch if she is out of line. Are you the bitch she's singing about?
Didn't know she sang. I thought she rapped or whatever.
So good. I absolutely loved it. So I backed the Kickstarter all in with the expansion. So that's coming. I think you'll enjoy it.
They're reprinting it.
They're reprinting it with the expansions. So what we were play testing was the expansion, which adds...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it adds this kind of I think there was waterfalls in the original, and this one adds bridges over said waterfalls. So there's like a lot of different mini games and tracks you can do in the game. But, you know, it's not complicated or heavy in the individual things you're doing. It's juggling all the things.
Right.
And I think what you'll like about the game is the simultaneous action selection, because it has this little wheel thing that I was showing you, where the outer part of the wheel is an action and the inner part of the wheel is an action, and if multiple people go to the same wedge on the wheel, the inner action gets covered up, so you only get one possible action instead of two. So, but there's also a lot of engine building you can do with building different buildings in your boom town, and there's this whole area control thing with a shootout that happens at the end of each year.
So do you think it would be playable at, say, just 2?
Yeah, you can play it at 2. I mean, even with the simultaneous action selection is like, it's a fun element in the action selection, but it doesn't significantly impact, I would say, the strategy of what you're doing, because there's plenty of other stuff to do.
Well, I'm just thinking that maybe the reason it took 3 hours, if you were playing with 6 people.
Yeah, I would never play it at full player count ever again. Maybe at 4, maybe 5. I don't know if I would play it.
It depends on who you're playing with.
I
better
think
be people that pick up on this stuff.
I mean, 3 or 4 would make the action selection part really fun, because you'd have more sort of like, oh no, we went to the same spot. Damn it. And then there is this kind of strategy where you're like, I know everyone's going to try to go to that spot, so I'll go to this spot to make sure that I get a really juiced up turn. And you can kind of specialize, like focus on just one part of the board or whatever. Like I said, I think it's on the heavier side of medium, I would say, but it's not
like a point salad type game.
Very point salad. I think it's very fun, and I think at 2 players, it probably would be like an hour and a half game for us. I think it's like on the level of like, you know, maybe a little crunchier than Raja's, just because there's so many different areas and so many different things you can do. But like I said, you can kind of choose. Like, I was mostly focusing on the wagon train element of it and setting up my little tents to kind of get the area control aspect of the game. But you could focus more on building up your boomtown, because that can help you get more combo-tastic-y kind of things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to recommend it. If you guys see it in retail, grab it while you can, because I don't know how soon it'll go out of print after this next Kickstarter, but I got my copy. Then also that night, we got to play more games with John, and the other designer bros, like Jake, you know, was back, and he brought some hard seltzers.
I liked his energy. He was very upbeat.
A nice guy. And then we also play tested this game by this guy, Chris. He had this game, and he was using Azul tiles as the components.
Do you remember what we were doing with them? I don't remember that part.
It's an abstract game. I forget what the name of it is. Has some like weird name, you know, like kind of in the spirit of those Devon games, you know, like some nonsense word. And basically what you're doing is you're trying to fill out, you have this shared grid of, I think it was either 3x3 or 4x4 or something like that. And you're using the tiles to place on the grid, and you're using cards in your hand. So there's a little bit of hand management and deck building happening with the way that you get the cards that let you place them out. And then some of the cards have like game breaky abilities that let you, like, you know, you're trying to build certain patterns. So the first person to build like 3 of a certain pattern wins the game automatically, kind of thing. So it's a race to build the 3 different patterns, but you're blocking each other in the building of the patterns. It's kind of the vibe.
He was really good at it, because I remember he was playing with us, and it's like,
oh, that's right, yeah.
He won.
I was doing pretty good. I was just trying to get some of those juiced up cards, and I was just slapping stuff down. You can get actually some combo-y turns in that game, I found, but that's not really the main strategy of the game. The main strategy is
what I found really interesting about it is that he took the components from another game and then found came up with a game with something else you could do with those tiles. And that was clever.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you have the physical tiles because you can do something to reform the shapes that you're making. So from game to game, the specific patterns you're going to make can change because there's cards that let you manipulate the shapes to make it easier to be able to get one onto the board. So I found that really interesting that there's that built-in variability in what you're doing. Because most abstract games, it gets it's just about doing that one thing. You know, so I always like variability in a game,
too.
especially something that's that pared down. Then we all played some Fruit Cocktail, some I Found Bigfoot. I think I can now talk about Fruit Cocktail now because it has been signed by the same people that are publishing I Found Bigfoot, which is coming to Kickstarter in March. So stay tuned for our video on that. But they're also going to be doing a Kickstarter for Fruit Cocktail, which is a hand-shading game that John has designed, which I absolutely love. And I think it was probably one of my favorite moments of the convention because I just wiped the floor with you guys. Freaking Fruit Cocktail.
See, this is where I do think you like winning.
Of course. Who doesn't?
Because you always have said you didn't care at all about it.
I am unable to quit as I am currently too legit. That's all I'm going to say.
That's it.
I never said I was a role model.
But what about...
Okay, we played a new game the other night with Andy's roommate. And you were going in all like gangbusters. Mm-hmm. And you didn't win.
No.
But you clearly wanted to win.
I was trying to play the game.
He was trying very hard.
Are you the bitch?
Even though this was the maiden voyage of this game, it was just like in the Titanic. You overstressed the machinery and bam, right into the iceberg.
Well, in the case of Fruit Cocktail, it's not my first time playing.
Oh, okay, back to that.
But I thought it was funny, like, 2 rounds in, Jake and Chris were like, oh, I really like this game. This is a really good game. I think that's one of his most magical designs.
America.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah,
like,
but
it's one of those games you kind of think,
it's card slapping fun.
Why didn't I think of that? Or how come nobody else thought of this? It is like on that level.
That's kind of the vibe. Basically, you have like this hand of different fruit, and you're each sort of like, you have this kind of cross shape that you're building out, and you need to add fruit to each part of the cross, but you have to do it like in a certain order. And then if you manage to get a certain amount of fruit on one point of the cross, you can basically like, oh, my hand is empty. And like, I forget exactly. I'm not explaining this game too well.
It's a little tricky because it's been a while since we played it, and we played it a few times, but I don't remember how you win. Is it just
and he's tweaked the rules a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's fruit cards and you're trying to get them out of your hand. And the first person to empty their hand triggers the end of the round. And you go until someone has a certain number of fruit collected or a certain number of points, I believe. Something like that. Just know.
It's coming.
It's coming. Finally, we can finally talk about it. And we probably will do a video on it eventually. It's just card slapping fun. That's all you need to know. And then on Sunday, the last day of the convention, which I didn't know how much gaming we were going to get in because, you know, the last day on a Sunday of a weekend convention is usually a little shortened. But I got up at 8:30 a.m. in the morning to play 535, which I talked about in our solo games thing. So much fun. Talk about card slapping fun. And then I played half a game of Herstory because I wanted to try it because I like women designers, as you all know. Viva la woman. And yeah, the person running that game, she really liked the game, but I think she underestimated how much time it was going to take to teach the game. And there were a couple people at the table that were really struggling. It's not a super heavy game, but it has some like Euro-y contract fulfillment, resource management, sort of hand management kind of things going on. Mostly supposed to be educational, I think, but just with enough crunch to make it like interesting as a game. You would probably like it. You know, if only for the thematic card text. Yeah, that's another one I played without Rich because he was also still in bed at that point.
I don't often sleep well when we go away places.
It's true.
Especially like anytime in a new bed.
So I just signed up for a bunch of stuff knowing that Rich would be pretty tired. And I was worried, you know, getting through the convention where your energy level would be. And by Sunday, you were pretty pooped up. Because then I made you play Paris Cite de la Lumiere. Game, we checked this game out from the library 4 times over the course of 3 days, saying, we're going to play it. And every time we were setting it up, someone was like, hey, do you want to join a game? And we're like, oh, yeah.
We could take it back.
And we take it back. And then we check it out again, and then like John or somebody would show up and say, hey, do you want to jump in this game over here? And like, so no regrets.
That's my credo. No regrets.
You have no regrets? Like not even a single letter?
But we did finally play it on Sunday, and this is a game that has been highly suggested to me as a great 2-player tile placement game for like forever, and I'm constantly been like on the point of buying it, and I just wanted to try it, and Rich was mostly unconscious.
No, I was playing it.
Sure, Jan.
I just wasn't.
It was like he was in a dream.
Yes.
In la Cite de la Lumiere, in the city of romance. I won.
I do remember that.
I want to get it. I think we really should add it to the collection because it was a very
I remember
clever
the last
game.
place we saw it. Do you?
I see a lot of
things. This is... I do have memory issues, but this is one of those things. Like, a lot of times, I'll just remember random... So, basically, we saw that at that game store in Davis.
Yeah, they had it there, full price. I'm not sure I want to pay full price for it.
How much is full price?
Like, I think it's like more than $20 for the base game, and then the expansion, the Eiffel expansion, is like the same price too.
Did we play it with the expansion?
No, but I think I'd want to get the expansion. It just adds more like variable scoring things, so you'd have like I feel like it might get a little stale if you had the same 8 scoring cards every time. But,
right? Yeah.
And it just adds like landmarks. So that's fun. The Eiffel Tower. The Louvre.
It was pretty. I remember that. It's very pretty.
Really cool. If you've never played that game, basically you play the inside of the box is the board.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And the first stage of the game is you sort of laying the foundation and placing the areas out to be able to build the tiles on in the second half of the game. So like the decisions you make in the first half of the game can really screw you if you weren't really smart in the second half of the game.
That's probably how I lost.
Yeah, I had read the rules, and I think I just heard people talk about it so much, I kind of was a little more mentally prepared for that aspect than you. But it's very tight, it could be potentially very mean. But the way that we kind of played it, we mostly stayed out of each other's way and like, okay, I'm going to be here in my corner of the city doing my thing. You go to the other corner and do your thing and it'll all be hunky-dory. Like, I don't need to go out of my way to block you. Which by the second half of the game, you kind of have a good idea of what you were planning to do anyway. So,
Was that the last game that we played?
Well, you went off and played Okie Dokie with John, which I have no idea. I know in that game there's zoo animals. And it's music themed somehow. And there's numbers.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I barely remember it, but I do remember going off and playing a game with John.
Meanwhile, I was playing the most epic game of Moonrakers, which is a game that has come highly recommended to me as well. That is a trick-taking game with negotiation, deck building, and semi-cooperative contract fulfillment, which sounds like a mess. But all I have to say is that 8-year-old girl nearly schooled my ass. It was neck and neck, and we all were tied at the end, and I won on a technicality based on a tiebreaker.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
I don't know. You know what it was?
Taking that victory away from that 8-year-old girl.
She was a shark, okay? Little Miss Dahlia. Yeah, I've never met a bigger shark in my life. Literally every single turn, she was playing out the hugest combo. She was just going for her entire deck every single turn. And now I play this and this. That allows me to play this, and then I can do that and that and that. And then when the negotiation time came on, she said, "I can help you." I'm like, sure, to get that victory point, Dahlia. So like you start getting to the point in that game where you're driving a really hard bargain and saying, well, I will not give you the point, but I will give you these other cards maybe that you want, or these other resources, or maybe a coin. And the other person's like, I'm good.
Hey, bro. Need a hand?
No, thanks. I'm good.
It's like Catan in space on crack with trick taking. It was so good. That was literally my favorite. After Coloma, that was my favorite experience of the convention. Maybe after.
And Druids. Now you've had
Druids,
three.
yeah. There's so many good experiences, you guys.
There were a lot of good.
Yeah. So how would you rate our Ragecon? Your first board game convention
I really
experience?
thought it was great. I mean, I'm gonna say over half of it was just seeing John.
I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me.
For me, I do like playing games, and I thought it was especially fun to do, like you're saying, the
play testing.
Play testing, yeah. That was my favorite thing of it.
Yeah, I really like, for our first convention, I wanted us to go to one that's really about playing games and something that was a little more local so that we could, get the most out of that experience. Like, I didn't want to...
So easy. I mean, it didn't take that long to get to.
No.
It was only 2 nights, so it was pretty breezy.
I definitely go again. I
do
do want to try going to a bigger convention next year, like to KublaCon or something like that. We did get an invitation to PAX Unplugged, but I don't think that's going to be in the cards for this January. But I'm hoping for next year we can go to that one.
Where's that?
That's in Philadelphia. So that's a big one. I also know for playing games, but also they have a lot more publishers and have sort of like the bigger elements of a convention, like, a lot more demos and things like that. But I liked in Ragecon, if you wanted to find a gaming table, you could just look for the sign that says players wanted, and you could just jump in on a game with random people and have a good time. So if that's your vibe, and they had a really big game library. Like, there was a lot of games that I'm like, oh, we could play this and this and this and that and that and that. I'm glad we played at least one out of the library. And then I got to try Moonrakers, which I did not think was going to happen. It was like right before we left the convention. And I'm in this big epic game with Dahlia the Shark and this 20-year-old guy who keeps on making jokes about his thruster cards. And I'm like, dude, you're sitting right next to an 8-year-old girl. Can you stop with the thrusters? Anyway, it felt satisfying when I beat his ass. Her dad's right there, though. So he's not saying anything. He's just like... Because you need a minimum of 3 players for that game. So he's just like... trying to remember. You can see on his face just reminding himself.
That's the only down thing. And we have this happen lots. Where we play a game that we really like, but it's a 3-person game. And
it's just hard
unfortunately,
for us.
like when,
we
games
do play
are
at 3
as
sometimes.
they are. Yeah, we do, but we play with each other much, much more. And so when you're talking about an expensive game, it's like, do I want to pay that much?
Yeah, like
I'm only going to play it once in a blue moon.
Moonrakers is like an $80+ game. So
there you go. And we just don't play it with... We do when we go over to his nieces, and we have some other friends that play.
Jamila, when John comes, we do get 3-player games to play.
Do, but it's real occasional compared to all the time.
I mean, so like it doesn't make me think twice before buying a game if it's only 3 players. It's not a deal breaker, but it's like, because I know we're going to get chances to play it, but it's got to be something really, really good that I know we're actually going to get to the table every now and again.
Right.
And we're constantly introducing people to new games, so it's hard to get things retabled at 3, especially. So, it's better if it's a game that also has a solid 2-player mode. There is a 2-player mode in Moonrakers, but it involves playing with a bot, and I've just found when we're playing any game that has the trick-taking element, I would say the negotiation element is the reason I wouldn't want to play it at less than 3, because that's a huge element of the fun factor of the game, is that negotiation. So... I probably will want to get it eventually, but it will be one of those things that, like, I don't know how often we're going to be able to table it when we haven't even played your copy of Catan. So... Yeah. And not because I hate Catan, but, like, just that is a game you really
I have to say, that game was
real.
We played it like 5 or 6, and it was... way fun.
So much fun.
If you want a game that plays a bunch of people that you will enjoy, it would be Catan.
At any rate, good convention. I'm just sad we're not getting to see John as much as we want to in recent months. But the good thing it did show us is that Reno's not that far.
It's not that far.
And vice versa. Sacramento's not that far from Reno, John, just saying. And yeah, I'm definitely excited for the next convention and to go back next year.
Yeah.
And I do want to say I'm still upset we didn't win a game in the raffle. We were putting in so many raffle tickets. I wanted votes for women, Tori. I promise you, that's the next game on my list. If I'm going to buy an $80 game right now, it's got to be votes for women because they keep on promising her. But highly suggest if you like a smaller gaming convention that's focused on playing games, and if you're looking for a convention that's closer than, say, the Bay or SoCal, you know, that's probably going to end up being a convention that we would frequent, I think, every year. But anyway, that was our Ragecon experience. So if you like what you see, don't forget
to like. Whoa, I almost fell asleep there. To like.
And subscribe.
And don't forget to
hit that notification bell. Ding. And as always, I'm Andy.
I'm Rich.
And don't forget to be gay.
To grind.
Don't get caught.
And
get gay, man.
Get gaming, Michelle.
Oh, I love them. You're such a good partner.
Shady merchants. Quasi-criminal merchants. And how can you not like dragons?
That's right. To a guy who, like, this is, like, one of his top 10. So.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I just told you.
What? Oh, I wasn't listening. This is what he has to put up with.
Anyway. I did get to say the name of the channel on video, so.
Oh yeah, didn't he film like a little, like.
Get gaming!
Yeah, it's a little promo thing.
Yeah.
If you can find that, you should put that at the end.
It is going to be there. I have it, yes.
You have it, and it's going to be there. So you just hold on. Don't go anywhere.